Good morning, everybody. Hopefully this works this time. Having software problems, equipment problems, hasn't been my morning to record, which also has kind of flustered me in terms of what I was going to say, but I'm going to do my best on this very, very snowy morning in north central Maine. I think what I want to start with has to do with maybe a retake on what I've said in the last couple of videos. I think part of what's been confusing when I've talked to people about the videos has to do with, like, what does it mean that there's love, that there's consciousness in a dream? People understandably say, well, I feel that in the session I do with you, but I don't necessarily get it when I look at the dream. And I think the way that I said it might not have been the most helpful. I think it's probably better to say that the way dreams work is that consciousness opens up, that our relationship with God, that love can open up when we're in relationship with a dream in a certain way. Love doesn't just come to us. We need to meet it. We need to listen. We need to be in conversation. I think in our culture, we're so alienated from this concept that this is hard to get. I think all of us have a way that we are maybe so hungry for love or starved for love that we almost think of it as something that can be consumed, that it's going to be giving to us. So when we talk about the dreams in the way that I talk about the dreams in the last couple of videos, it seems a little bit like I'm saying that there's just almost like there's going to be a message and it's going to be delivered to you. And you just need to understand that message. But that's the whole problem in our culture. We don't look at things from a way of being in relationship. We look at it in this very alienated, dissociated way. And we carry that understanding over into how we are with our dreams. It doesn't really work that way. How it really works is that we have to ourselves bring some consciousness, bring some love to the relationship. If God exists in our dreams, then we have to approach the dream at least with a willingness to see ourselves the way that the divine sees us. Again, I think that's a challenge, but it's also the heart of the way that I work with dreams. I think that if you approach a dream from an alienated perspective, you're going to get an alienated relationship. And if you approach the dream with tenderness, with love, then you're going to find that consciousness opens up. You're going to find that there's going to be an understanding that comes from the dream. There's going to be a kind of love that comes from the dream in that relationship. You may wonder why I believe that. And part of it just has to do with, I've worked with literally thousands and thousands of dreams at this point with people. And it always happens. It always happens as soon as I let go of my idea of the dream. So as soon as I let go of my dissociated, alienated idea of the dream, and I help the dream, or if I'm working with my own dreams, if I help myself to be in relationship with the dream, something different happens. So I do want to mention nightmares and trauma dreams, which I think might be the hardest kind of dreams. How could there be love there? And again, it's not so much if you have a dream that's related to some fear that you carry, some trauma that you've experienced, some abuse that you've experienced, the question, it's not like God's or the consciousness or the dream is coming to punish us or remind us. it's more like there's a cry for help there. There's a way, can I be with whatever that pain is, whatever that fear is, with love, or at least with tenderness. I mean, I think with that kind of a dream, it's hard to use the word love, but I think we can be tender. Sue said this really sweet thing when we were talking about this all yesterday, about how maybe even part of it is just a prompt for us to reach out to another person, to tell another person about the dream and about how scary it was. And I thought that was really brilliant, because one of the hugest problems that we have is that we experience things from a place of isolation. So the very idea that, like, oh, I could be with this thing that's scary for me with another person, or maybe my dream is coming to me to prompt me to reach out and say, wow, I don't know how to be with this. And even if you don't have a person like that in your life, just being with the dream in that way of like, oh, wow, there's something here for me that's scary, that I need some support. And maybe it's something I could journal about. Maybe it's something I could talk to somebody about. Maybe I could have a little bit of space from the immediate experience of the dream, but be in the relationship with the dream with tenderness, and see what happens to you in that space. Once you do this in any way, like once you start to be in relationship with your dreams in this way, it actually changes everything. In a way, it's really simple, but the part that's hard is that it goes against most of everything that we've ever been taught. So what I want you to consider doing is, when you have a dream in the morning, notice the first thoughts that come up. Most of us have a dream and be like, oh, that was weird. So you don't have to not, even I, after all these years of telling people there's no such thing as a weird dream, I still have that thought. So let that thought be there, and then see if you can then take a moment and be, okay, what if there's something here for me in being with this dream? What if I can consciously take a moment to be with myself with this dream in relationship? With the kind of question of like, is there something here for me that's love, discernment, wisdom that could arise for me if I'm here with this dream in this way? What I wrote was, take a breath and just say, okay, let's talk. Ask with openness, what is being shown to me here from a place of love? So literally, like, to just take a moment, be in a meditative, a reflective, a prayerful state, and just ask that question. Ask with openness, what is being shown to me here from a place of love? And almost always something will come up for you. It might not make sense to you, but what I want you to do is to just take another breath and notice what comes up for you in relationship to that question. No matter how related or not related it seems, and just be with it. Just be with the question, like, how is it to be with what arises for me when I sit with my dream in this way? And stay with that. See what comes up there, then see what comes up again. Like, if I stay with it, what comes up? And if I stay with it, what comes up again? Part of the practice is to stay with it at least 3 times. How is it to be with that in this way? See what arises from there. How is it to be with that? See what arises, and then how is it to be with that? And just stay and follow and reflect. And I promise you something will arise. Now, if nothing does, if you ask that question and you draw a blank, don't just ignore the blank. Don't just stop the process. Take a moment and just be with the not knowing. Just be with, okay, there's a possibility there's something here for me and nothing's coming up. And just take a breath. Let yourself reflect. How is that to be with it? To be with the possibility and to not have anything come up. And again, stay with it 3 times. I know that may seem silly, but stay with it anyway. Just let there be space to be in the unknowing. It's another thing that's very challenging for us in this culture. We don't like to be with not knowing. But I promise you, if you follow this process, something will come up for you. Maybe not in the moment. Maybe it's later in the day. Maybe it's the next dream. But part of it's a practice. It's a practice to learn to not treat our dreams, not treat ourselves in a disembodied, alienated, disassociated way. I mean, one of the great things here is even if nothing opens up for you, it changes you to learn how to be present with yourself in this way. It changes you to learn how to be present with your dreams in this way. And then if you need some help, for those of you that are hearing about this video via email, send me a question. As long as you're willing for me to talk about it in another video. I don't imagine I'm going to get 100 questions, so send me some questions or post the question in the chat. Give me a dream moment. Don't give me too much material. Just give me a dream moment if you can, or give me the whole dream, but focus on, that's the other part of it that maybe I should have said it first. Take a moment from the dream. Don't try to focus on the whole dream. Take one moment that calls out to you in some way and do this exercise in relationship to that moment. So if you want help with that, write the dream, mention the moment that calls out to you, maybe say something about like why this moment calls out to you, and then I'll help you. I'll give you some prompts. Like I said earlier, I've worked, this might have been another recording, I'm not sure, but I've worked with thousands and thousands of dreams. And if you're with your dreams in this way, something happens that just won't happen if you ignore them, and it won't happen if you try to be with them in some other way. So I hope this is helpful to you. This is really the beginning of a series where I'm going to talk about how to be with your dreams, how Sue and I work with dreams, and also just how you can start to incorporate this into your own life. And some of that's going to be background, like that I did in the last 2 videos. The last 2 videos were really like kind of the framework, like it's the starting point. Like, can I have a different mindset in relationship to my dreams? Can I treat them in a different way? Can I offer them open, I guess is a better way to say it. Can I open to the possibility that there's some consciousness coming to me? And then today, what I'm really talking about is how do I be in relationship with that? So if this is helpful to you, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Most of the questions I've gotten have been via email or in talking to people that I work with. So feel free to contact me that way. Or if you're not on an email list, post something in the chat and I'll respond to it in the chat. Or more likely I'll respond to it in another video. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.